Welcome to leveraging Agile practices in a documentation-driven environment. Agile methodologies have long been associated with software development, focusing on iterative progress, customer collaboration, and responsiveness to change. However, the core principles of Agile adaptability, incremental delivery, and continuous feedback are just as applicable in non-software environments, including documentation-driven projects. By adopting Agile practices, teams working on documentation can improve efficiency, responsiveness, and quality. However, applying Agile in this context also presents unique challenges. Applying Agile to documentation development when the primary deliverable is documentation rather than software. Agile can be adapted in several ways. 1. Iterative development of documentation. Rather than producing large, monolithic documents at the end of a project, teams can create and refine documentation in smaller, incremental cycles. This approach ensures that documents remain relevant, up-to-date, and aligned with user needs. Agile emphasizes collaboration between different stakeholders. In a documentation project, this means involving writers, subject matter experts, editors, designers. Regular feedback loops help improve clarity, accuracy, and usability. 3. User-centered approach. By applying Agile's customer-centric philosophy, documentation teams can focus on end-user needs. Techniques such as user personas and usability testing can guide content structure, tone, and format to enhance readability and engagement. 4. Agile ceremonies and documentation workflows, daily stand-ups. Writers can discuss progress, roadblocks, and priorities. Sprint planning. Teams can break down large documentation tasks into manageable sprints, ensuring continuous progress. Retrospectives. Regular reviews help identify improvement areas in the documentation process. 5. Continuous feedback and iteration using Agile principles. Documentation can be continuously improved based on stakeholder and user feedback. Drafts can be published incrementally, allowing for early review and refinement instead of waiting until the end of the project. Pros of using Agile in documentation. 1. Faster delivery. Breaking documentation into smaller deliverables allows teams to release content more frequently rather than waiting for a final comprehensive version. This is particularly useful for fast-moving projects where documentation needs to evolve alongside product changes. 2. Improved quality. Regular feedback from stakeholders ensures that documentation meets user needs and is technically accurate, reducing the risk of outdated or irrelevant content. 3. Better collaboration. Cross-functional teamwork fosters knowledge sharing and alignment between writers, developers, designers, and business teams, leading to more comprehensive and useful documentation. 4. Greater adaptability in traditional documentation approaches. Last-minute changes can be disruptive. Agile allows documentation teams to adapt to evolving requirements without overhauling entire deliverables. 5. Higher engagement from stakeholders. Since stakeholders are involved throughout the process, they feel more ownership over the documentation and are more likely to contribute timely and meaningful feedback. Cons of using Agile in documentation. 1. Difficulty in defining done. Unlike software, where functionality can be tested, documentation completion is subjective. Teams may struggle to determine when a document is truly ready for release. 2. Potential for scope creep. The iterative nature of Agile can lead to endless revisions, especially if there is no clear governance on version control and finalization. 3. Challenges with long-term planning. Agile thrives on flexibility, which can sometimes conflict with long-term documentation planning, especially for large-scale projects requiring regulatory approvals. 4. Resistance to change. Writers and stakeholders accustomed to traditional documentation methods may struggle to adapt to Agile's iterative, feedback-driven approach. 5. Requires strong collaboration tools. Since documentation is created incrementally, teams need robust content management systems and collaboration tools to track changes, manage versions, and collect feedback efficiently. Conclusion. While Agile was originally designed for software development, its principles can be effectively applied to documentation projects to enhance collaboration, responsiveness, and content quality. However, success depends on adapting Agile practices to fit the nature of documentation work, balancing flexibility with structure, and ensuring that stakeholders remain engaged throughout the process. By doing so, organizations can create documentation that is not only accurate and up-to-date, but also truly valuable to its users.